Our next guest is Peggy Stewart, who, as a teenager, worked with my parents.
That's right.
And I've known her forever. She is the most delightful lady. She is still a working actress. You see her all the time. We just saw her on NCIS and The Office. And you are incredible, Peg.
Oh, well, I say I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it until they put me in that pine box.
Well, good for you. Now, how did a little girl born in Florida and raised in Atlanta, how did you get to Hollywood?
Oh.
I'm making the leap for you.
Well, it was a 6-up mule train.
No way.
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's too bad. That's too bad. But my sister and I was about 12, I guess. We always went to the YWCA camp in Tallulah Falls, Georgia. I loved it. And my mom said, we're not going there this year. You're going out to California to see my mom's brother get married. My grandmama was already out here with him. And I said, I don't want to go. And she said, yep, that's what we're doing. So my 2 sisters, myself, and Mom, we came out with the tumbleweeds. Oh, that wind would blow across that desert. We'd never seen any of that stuff before. And Mom the eyes would get bigger and bigger and bigger as this tumbleweed come down the highway towards her. Yeah. But anyhow, we got into California, and Uncle D got married and all of that. And we were staying the summer, so I asked my grandmama if I could go to dramatic school, because at age 7, I'd seen Katharine Hepburn in Little Women, and I said, that's what I want to be, that right there. So she said, okay. So we went to Neely Dixon's dramatic school, and I loved it. Then I asked, can I stay in California instead of going back to Atlanta? And she said, ask your mom. I did. And Mom said, ask your grandmother. So I did. And I called her Biggie, my grandmama. So Biggie stayed out here with me, and we moved into the Altonito apartments, and Benita Granville lived there, and a wonderful character actor, Henry O'Neill, lived there, and the Mock twins, who had done Anthony Adverse and Penrod and Sam, I think it was. Anyhow, Pop O'Neill was under contract to Warner's, and he was loaned out to do Wells Fargo with Joel McRae and Francis D. And he knew they were looking for a young teenage girl that had a slight Southern accent. So anyhow, he suggested to Frank Lloyd, the director, that he test me. And they did, and they liked me. And that became my first picture, playing the daughter to Joe McRae and Francis D. in Wells Fargo. And that's all it needed. From there, I went to Universal under contract for 4 pictures. This is Deanna Durbin and the Dead End Kids, and I played Margaret Sullivan's stepsister in Backstreet and all of that. Then I went to Warner's for 2 pictures, and I think it was about in that time I married Don Barry. I was just 16 when I married Don. And I was out of it for about 3 years, had my son Michael, and Don and I were divorcing, and so Don talked to Herbert Yates. He said, why don't you use Peg, test her? Well, Republic was so small, they didn't do screen tests, and screen tests were kind of going out of the way anyhow. And what they did was to put you in a Western. That was their screen test. So Yates said, okay, and he put me in, I think it was Tucson Raiders with Bill Elliott. And that was the first one I did, and they liked me, so they put me under contract. And it's just been going like that ever since, yeah.
Absolutely incredible career. I mean,
I told this one, though, it took me 3 years to straighten my legs back out again after Republic, And Cheryl calls and says, come ride in the Rose Parade with us. legs are bowed out again after 3 years of straightening them out. Yeah. Oh, that was a long ride.
Oh, that is the longest ride, but you were so incredible with the group. I mean, we loved having you with us for that Rose Parade, and I think you had a good time, lady.
Cheryl got everybody that was the son or the daughter of somebody that was in Westerns and all, like Tad Devine, Andy's son, and Pat Wayne, Duke's son, and all. And I'm nobody's kid, you know. I'm just the matriarch of the whole darn group.
She made us legitimate, let me tell you, having Peggy as our film representative and Rusty Richards, who represented the music because he had been with the Sons of the Pioneers for a good long period of time.
That's right.
And he's a cowboy, and you are a fabulous writer. So, I mean, we had a really great group. We had more fun doing that.
We did.
Yeah.
The other one that was a great writer is Buddy Ebsen's daughter.
Oh, she really impressed me, Kiki Ebsen. Yeah. I mean, she's a singer and not a country western singer or anything. And
Ebsen's daughter?
Yeah.
As good as me? Do, re, mi, fa, so.
Maybe a little better, Peg.
A little better.
Anyway, she's a great writer, and we had a wonderful time. You know, you have been, I think, in every type of film genre that there is. You've made westerns and film noir, and you've done everything. What was your favorite?
It's hard to say. It really is. Of the westerns?
Just
Everything?
working. Of which, I mean, did you like westerns, or did you like the film noir, or what was more fun?
When I was at Republic, when I left Republic, I asked for my contract, and because I didn't want to do serials, and they said if I didn't do, I think it was Mark of Zorro, one of those, that they would have to let me go or suspend me. So I said, well, let me go. And Yates had it's the first time I really ever talked to Yates. And he talked to me for about an hour, telling me how cold the world was out there. So I said, well, I'll take my chances, you know. And I guess it was about week and a half, 2 weeks after I left Republic, I get a letter from Bob Newman, who was the accountant there at Republic. And it says, dear Peggy, he says, you owe us like, I don't know, $200, $300, because they would prorate my checks, pay over 12 weeks. So otherwise a stock contract is like 9 months and you're off 3 months. So I had prorated it, and I'm crying because, my gosh, that much money then was thousands of dollars, you know. And I went to Bill Elliott. Elliott had always been on me about make a time card, SAG didn't make time cards at that time. Bill made his own. And he said, where is your time? I said, you know where it is, and I am got it, and blah, blah. And he said, okay. So he took just the Red Riders and put down all the overtime. I fitted wardrobe on lunch hour and all of this stuff. And it winds up Republic owed me like $400. So Bill makes a very formal letter and sends it back to Newman. And then I get another letter from Republic, beautiful, gold embossed emblem on it and everything, you know. Dearest Peggy, we find that we made a mathematical mistake. So we wound up even. I didn't pay them, they didn't pay me. Yeah.
It shows. I mean, the studios were using creative accounting right from the get-go.
Well, back to that question. It's after I got out of Republic, and I wanted to get back to the caliber of pictures I'd been doing, and it didn't work that way. I'd made a reputation in town, which I didn't know, and so I was still doing westerns, but they weren't at Republic. So I thought, boy, you know, I got to get out of this somehow. So I went down to the Broadway Hollywood in Los Angeles to learn to be a sales girl. Oh, it would have been such a mistake if they had done that. I can't count money backwards and all. So Anyhow, the morning I was to go to be in the glove department at the Broadway Hollywood, a friend called. June left. She'd been fighting to get a casting office for NBC. They didn't have one. NBC finally okayed it, and she calls me and she said, "How would you like to be an assistant casting director?" I said, anything connected with the business, wonderful. And June, she had an attorney's brain, so she did all the contract work and everything. And I did dancers and singers and cast them and actors and stuff. So I did that for 3 years. And I began to think, boy, you know, I really do miss the Westerns. I really, really missed them. And they were beginning to fade out a little bit, too, by this time. And then, of course, as more time went on, I tell you, I look at some of them at the festivals, and I hear Tumbling Tumbleweed. That'll make me cry every time. And I just truly was so sorry that I wasn't in them anymore. But I didn't miss too much of the time that they were in, just a couple of years, because they were fading out so fast.
How did you get active again as far as the acting went? I mean, what brought you back into that?
Jim Lister, a man who had been an agent, one of the big agents that used to work with me when I was casting actors and stuff. And Jim called me one day, and he wasn't an agent anymore. He had turned casting director. And he was working with Lynn Stallmaster, so it was Lister Stallmaster. And he said, "How would you like to get back acting again?" I said, "Oh, wonderful." That's all that was said. He said, "Well, come on to the studio." I went down to California Studios, pick up a script. You know, I didn't even look at it, just pick it up. I get home. I'm right back up on the buckboard again. It says Gunsmoke. So, yeah, I spent 3 years to get out of them, and now I'm right back up on the buckboard again. So that's how it all started, was getting back. Jim started off again.
Oh, yeah, that's wild. I saw you on NCIS. How did you get that?
Diamond got it. Diamond Farnsworth. He's the cutest thing. I tell you, I just love Diamond. And I interviewed for it. You have to interview for everything. And I just knew that it was Diamond, because when I walked into the makeup hairdressing trailer the first morning, everybody says, "There she is. Hi, Peg." And, you know, they didn't know me from Adam, but they adore Diamond. And so I knew he'd had his hand in it, yeah.
Oh, he's like his daddy. He's just a great guy.
He really is. Yeah, oh, gee, Dick was wonderful. He was a laid-back cowboy, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think everybody just adored him.
Yeah.
Now, you did in 07, 08, you did what, 8 episodes of The Riches?
9, I think it was.
9?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was that? I mean, that's a whole different genre. So.
Yes, it is. And they shoot it differently, you know. It's sort of fascinating to see when you go on this, even The Office. It's shot totally different than what other stuff. Most of them are using that shoulder camera now. And you're wired instead of the overhead mic. And it's all very informal, nothing uptight. Got to know it word for word and all of that, you know. Very loose. And with the NCIS, was that the one? No,
yeah.
Riches.
The Riches. Yeah.
Oh, the Eddie Izzard. He's very focused, and he had his dramatic coach on the set with him, which surprised me. He wants to be just absolutely perfect and right.
Wow.
But he invited a friend of ours and myself down to the Coronet Theater in L.A. to see his one-man show, because I'd never seen Eddie's famous comedy that everybody talked about. he doesn't have a script. He doesn't ever stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
He doesn't go by anything, just things that pop into his head. And he's on stage, no background stuff. I mean, bare stage. Just comes out, you know, dressed like T-shirt and pants, and starts off. But he'll have a theme, and his theme for that evening was the Spartans. He's a great historian. It's the Spartans, taking them through all their little problems, and just as it pops in his head, he's the funniest man and sheer genius, just sheer genius.
Wow.
And he'll stand on stage and just sort of stay there for like 10, 15 minutes. He'll finally look at you and say, I don't know what I'm going to say next. I don't know what I'm going to do. He involves you, you know, with himself.
Well, speaking of being involved, we've got time to do questions from the audience. So anybody have any questions out there? Yes, sir.
Yes. In the early 90s, I think it was, you were in an episode of Seinfeld, were you not?
Yeah. Which one are you talking about? Double Dip?
Where you were the aunt of Costanza's girlfriend?
Yeah, that, and then Jason went over to the bowl and double dipped, and yeah.
How was that environment in which to act?
It was nice, but they too, Jerry is the only one that came up, and because you feel like a stranger, you know, when you get on the set. They've been working together for so long, and it's an ensemble. And he's the only one that came up and introduced himself and said, welcome to the show. Julia Dreyfus and Kramer and Jason Alexander, all of them off, you know, wherever. But they're very much for that show. And Jerry is the one that they would always call upon. Kramer and Jason Alexander had some scene, I don't know what they were doing, and they finally said, Jerry, come here, you know, and they said, you look at it, it's just not playing. And Jerry would look at it, and he says, don't say anything, you know, just pick up the pin. Yeah, it was something like that. So they depended on him a great deal. Wow. But that was at Republic on the back lot. And the big stage that was the Seinfeld stage was right where the Red Barn door, and when you opened the Red Barn door, you were inside the cave at Republic with the trolley car and all. And so at lunch hour, I went outside the stage to have a cigarette. And I thought, well, I'll just take a walk down the old back road here and go see the Duchess's Ranch if there's anything left. And I started down, and the Duchess Ranch is gone. It's just a nursery for green stuff, you know, and all. And so I was going to head back to the stage, and I started hearing voices. I could hear the crew and all the laughter and the fun that we used to have, you know. And one of the Lydeckers on the bike riding by, I started crying. Just waves of nostalgia came over me. So I leaned against stage 11 and just said, well, go ahead, Peggy, cry, you know. And a workman came by on his bike, and he stops and he says, are you all right, miss? I said, I'm fine, really. Go ahead. I get back to the stage, and I'm standing by the stage door. Now the company's beginning to come back from lunch. Jerry comes by. He says, hi, Peg. I said, hi, Jerry. He goes in, and he must have gone in the door and turned right back around and came back out. I guess my eyes were red or something. He said, are you all right, Peg? And I said, no. I said, you're sitting on my cave. He said, you what? So I showed him then what was left of the Western Street and everything, what used to be the New York Street, you know. He's really very interested in it all, yeah. Oh, nice man, nice company. Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else with a question? Yes, sir.
What part did you play on The Riches? Because I watched a lot of that series.
What was her name? Nell, what was her name?
Feinstein. Dr. Feinstein.
Dr. Feinstein, yeah. Did you watch some of the series by any chance?
Yeah, I watched most of the whole series, yeah.
Well, you know, at the beginning, Eddie and Minnie Driver take on a false identity.
Yes, right.
And the daughter that was killed in the car accident, I was her mother. And so I'm the mystery figure because Eddie finds out I'm in a home and he doesn't want to, you know, be exposed and shown up. So he runs and gets me out of the nursing home and makes me a part of their family. Yeah, so every time I would say I had a phone call, made a phone call, or anything, you know, Eddie was, and they finally looked at that cell phone that I had hanging on me and did a close-up and turned around. The back's all out. There's no batteries, no nothing. She was in La La Land, you know. Yeah.
Anybody else with a question? Yes.
You're talking about working as a family and what have you like that. In all of your experience, who did you enjoy working the most with?
That again is so hard. There's no one person. I loved working with Sunset, and I loved working with Elliot. Yeah. That's about the. You know, all the rest are just as well, just nice folks. The only one that was dull and boring was Alan.
Who I had a crush on.
Very, very dull.
I loved his horse.
So.
He had a gorgeous horse. See, I'm not the only one.
Oh, well, Autry, too. I tell that story on Gene. This is Nell's favorite story. Up in the makeup department, it was built like an L. And when you went the hair department, when you went, all the girls were lined up here with, say, Dale and me and Vera Haruba and Ruthie Terry, and all of us had falls. And then down here came the men. And here's Autry and the red, white wig and Bobby Blake's little Indian wig, all of these. And down at the end, here's this gorgeous fall. I mean, it was beautiful. It was big, wide waves like that went down. And it was a gold chestnut. And I asked Millie, my hairdresser, I said, Millie, who's on the lot? My God, that thing is gorgeous. And she said, I don't know. She went over, you know, and she sort of just looked around. She said, I don't know. And then she picks it up and is feeling the texture of it and everything, looks underneath, and it says, champion. So I guess Colonel Aggie it was a leather bandeau, and the hair was on this bandeau, and I guess he just clipped it over the photographic champion's tail, you know, because the one they used photographically had a bobtail about like that.
Never knew. We've got time for one more question. Yes.
Ask Peggy if she'll tell my favorite Sunset story.
Sunset, he was a parrot. Whatever you told him to say, you know, just before he went on to do a scene, that's what he'd say. So Tom London, who was more or less his sidekick, Tommy and Sunset and I all lived close together. And Tommy Carr, the director, had asked us one time, can you help him with his dialogue? Because Sunset ran everything together, you know. I'm so sorry that your aunt was killed. I did a newspaper last week. Isn't that horse beautiful? He didn't have any, you know, things. So Tommy and I got together in Sunset one evening, and Tom and I made him count the dots. Sorry, your aunt got killed, you know, ... I wrote a report this week, ... and start over. So he goes in, and he's saying, I've got the lines. I said, good. And he says, I'm sorry your aunt got killed. But this time, being a parrot, we were doing a story on Bat Masterson. So before he'd go on, Tom would say, or I would say, Matt Masterson. So he'd go on, and he'd say about Matt Masterson. Tommy Carr cut it, and once again, over 2 takes, they usually threw the whole thing out because they really didn't need a scene anyhow. We're up to about take 9. So unusual, very rare. And Tommy, a very patient man, Carr, the director, was getting really impatient with us. So he said, "Come on, guys, knock it off." The scene was a bar type scene. Tommy London and I were off stage. Barcroft comes into the bar, and he's saying, "Okay, where are they?" And Sunset says, "Who? You mean Matt Masterson?" And anyhow, that started it. Now he gets it. We said, "Sunset, Bat Masterson." "Okay, where are they?" "Who? Bat Masterson?" Well, Tommy London and I are tickled, And he said, "Well, he's headed up north chasing them Smurfugglers." Cute.
I want to thank you for being with us. Our time is up. That's a great note to end on. Thank you, Peg.
Thank you, too, Cheryl.
Oh, that was fun.
Thank all of you, too.
Yeah.